Good evening and welcome to another episode of the all new TTown 411 Report and our community conversations. We're broadcasting live from Sound Booth Radio 106.1 and McKinstry Banquet Hall located at 5480 Jug Factory Road here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. We're broadcasting with my good friend Mike on Sound Booth Radio 106.1 and Sound Booth TV. Mike, tell them how can they chime in on Sound Booth Radio and Sound Booth TV.
Good morning, Darryl. Check us out on the radio side of Sound Booth Radio. Just go to your iOS or your Google Play Store, download the Live 365 app. Once you download that app, then you go to the search bar, type in Sound Booth Radio 106.1. That'll get you on with us on the radio side of Sound Booth Radio. To get us on the video side, just go to YouTube or Facebook, type in Sound Booth Radio. And that'll get you on with us on the video side of Sound Booth Radio.
Okay. Well, we also want to thank our very own Ms. Veronica Taylor, who chimes in with us each and every week, giving us information relating to our COVID update as well as our flu and monkeypox. Veronica, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Darren. How are you?
Great.
That's good. A COVID-19 update for this week. Per the New York Times, the latest trends show an average of 830 cases per day were reported in Alabama in the last week. Cases have increased by 102% from the average 2 weeks ago. Deaths have increased by 155%. Monkeypox update. U.S. cases are up to 29,643. Total cases, with Alabama having 182, Florida having 2835, Georgia having 1980, Mississippi having 108, Tennessee having 387. As for the flu, it continues to rise as well. There are people being seen with the combination of all three, or a combination in some form. C19 is up. It is definitely up. So we're encouraging everybody to, if you feel like you're in an atmosphere or environment where you should wear your mask, please do so. Continue to socially distance. People are getting COVID again. It's on the rise, and I don't know. I hope our local hospital will decide to start updating again. I think it may be. I'm not sure. I can't say for sure, so I'm not saying that it is, but if it's on the rise across the United States, I think it's probably a little bit on the rise everywhere. It may not be as bad in some areas. But if you are 6 months and older, they encourage everybody to get a flu vaccine as far as the influenza virus is concerned. Because like I said, it is on the rise as well. Alabama is a hot spot. Most places in the United States right now are hot spots. They even talked to Dr. Fauci a little bit. You know, he's about to be done. And so I don't know who will get next. So hopefully we'll get somebody who is as concerned as he is and who takes things like this seriously, because a lot of people still don't. A lot of people aren't wearing their mask, and it is nothing to play with. Even people who aren't hospitalized talk about how bad it was. And so now you have three viruses that are on the rise right now. Monkeypox, they're not addressing that as much either. I think people just don't want this big to do, and they don't want people to. I won't say they don't want people to take precautions, but I don't think they want people to be afraid or to be scared. But when it comes to these respiratory viruses or any virus, just do all you can to protect yourself. Get your vaccinations. If you're not going to get your vaccinations, be your brother's keeper. You know, be mindful for others and for yourself. Because if you're not going to get your vaccination, wear a mask. Who cares what somebody thinks? When a person has to deal with COVID, what a person thinks is the last thing that should be on their mind. So wear your mask, socially distance. No, all that touching and stuff, still, don't do that. As I say every week, it's been proven that masks do help. It helped with all viruses the past couple of years. Now everything's on the rise because people aren't wearing masks. People are still protesting in countries not to wear a mask. But New York, they're even saying they're advising to wear a mask. So I'm just hoping it doesn't get to the point where they're mandating it again, because we already know how people are going to act. But just practice safety. Safety.
Well, thank you, Veronica, as always, preparing us for those updates on COVID and the flu and monkeypox. We really appreciate that. It's great information that you pass along with us each and every week here on the program. As always, we say a special prayer for everyone that's on the program as well throughout this country and throughout the world. So if y'all would just join me for a quick prayer. Those of you that chiming in, I want to thank you, Mr. Brian Wells, Linda Thomas. Thank you all, Trey Dunn, Daniel Van Horn, Patricia Sunshine Williams. Thank you for chiming back in. We're just glad to see that you're okay. And everyone else that's chiming in, just a quick prayer. Heavenly Father, right now we come to you to say thank you. Thank you for this day that we've never seen before and will see again. Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for your grace and your mercy, and we just want to say thank you for all the things you do and have done. Heavenly Father, we're praying right now for all our governmental officials. We're praying for all our pastors. We're praying for all our essential workers during the hospitals and the nursing home. Heavenly Father, we're asking for a healing hand for those that are in the hospital. We ask that you continue to look over all the doctors and nurses and the essential workers. Heavenly Father, we're praying for those in the nursing home and asking that you continue to watch over them and our elderly as they continue to go day by day, Heavenly Father. Right now, we're asking that you continue to look over all our first responders, our Navy and Army and military personnel. Heavenly Father, we just want to give you all the thanks, give you all the praise. Heavenly Father, right now, we just want you to go with the bereavement family wherever they may be. Let them know that you're in charge and your will has been done. Heavenly Father, build them up where they're weak and let them know that you will see them again if they do the right thing. Heavenly Father, in your Son, Jesus Christ's name, we pray. Amen. Amen.
Amen.
I want to thank you all. Thank y'all for all this. Thank all the ones that chime in on this program right now. We just want to thank. I know it's been a topic today. We had a big incident, and we're not going to keep you long tonight. I mean, we had an incident, Veronica, and I'm pretty sure you and Mike familiar with what happened throughout this whole community, throughout this state, I believe, that there were several calls of an active shooter at schools, and it was right here in our own city at Hillcrest High School that it was
The
called in.
county.
Yeah, it was called in as a active shooter today. But and right now, I think from responses I've heard, I had people telling me about people trying to get to the school, people set up the roadblocks, trying to get through things of that nature. I think it's time that we talk about um, a crisis situation of that nature. Let's be more prepared. Some of the things I think what people should understand is that we need to be a little bit more prepared from a community-wide standpoint. So let me go ahead and put this on record. Also, I just want to make sure I say this. Our police departments, our first responders here in the city of Tuscaloosa and the county, throughout the whole county, Northport, University of Alabama, Stillman College, wherever, they all responded. And we want to give them all the thanks. We want to thank all of the first responders that responded to make sure our children were safe, our family members, from the mothers, the grandmothers, and brothers and sisters, whoever it might have been. First, I want to make sure we thank all our first responders, and that was a uh, great. It felt good to me to know that, hey, someone responding to take care of our children. After I heard about it, calls coming in, texts, what's going on, what's happening, what's going on at Hillcrest. So they say it's been a shooting, blah blah blah. And from my understanding, someone said they seen first responders from all over heading to that
It was
direction.
from Hale County, from Moundville Police Department was there, and I think Lakeview Police Department was down here also. The Sheriff Department, Tuscaloosa Police Department, and like you said, University of Alabama Police Department. So that was everybody in the surrounding area that they came out to Hillcrest today because of the threat of an active shooter. So the presence was there. If there hadn't been anything going on, we would have had a great presence there.
Yeah, a great presence, large presence of law enforcement, the helicopters. Um, it was a great. It was a great. It felt good to me just to know that, hey, they're trained and ready and responding.
Mm-hmm.
That's what felt good to me. Trey Dunn said, yes, they did a timely manner, and I must say it was crazy, but they got there as soon as possible. Yes, sir. If you'd like to join the conversation, it's open 205-310-6067, 205-310-6067. That'll get you in contact with us here on the program. Please feel free to call. Here's what I want to get out of this session. Not that this was a practice or anything, but there must have been, I'm sure, there was chaos because I had family members responding. Then I had my granddaughter texting, I'm scared, somebody come and get me, I'm scared, what's going on? The kids in turmoil, transmitting back and forth through phone conversation. So I think it's time where we as a community need to have a conversation about what to do. What's the community need to know about any situation like that?
There. I'm sorry. I agree with you. My niece was up there at Hillcrest, and she wound up texting her mother and also Lady T. Um, that she was afraid of what was going on up there, and by proxy, that makes the parent very afraid, and so now they looking to try to get there as fast as they can. This is their kids.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I guess the question that we need to ask is, what can we do? Because when those kids start texting, and they're gonna do that, they have their phones on, they're going to text their parents because that's what they're gonna do.
Right.
Period. And if all those parents go trying to rush up there, what's the plan for
What's the plan, Mike?
for that?
What's the plan? And here's one thing. I know that's something that a lot of law enforcement probably at the moment don't have time to answer those questions. But here's what I do know. Parents, we're not going to be able to get to the property, get to the premises of this incident if it really is an incident going on. We have to respect the law enforcement to protect us as well as the kids. So, we can't expect law enforcement to just let all the parents um, just bombard the school to get their child, and that's understandable. I don't know. First thing I did, and when I first got the text message, what's going on at Hillcrest, I called other law enforcement officers. Of course, if they didn't answer, that means something must have been going on. That's an indication that I got because normally they answer the phone. So okay, that was the first answer. Then my granddaughter is texting back and forth with her grandmother and her mom saying, "I'm scared. They say it's a shooting going on." Well, now I'm at the point where maybe I need to go, knowing all the time ain't nothing I can do at that point, but reassure them that things are gonna be okay. But I think there needs to be a better line of open up communication. I don't know how long it took the schools to respond to the parents that something was or wasn't going on. I think there need to be a better line of communication, and I think specifically,
I think there. I'm sorry, I ain't even cut you off. Go ahead.
well, I'm gonna just say specifically, we know. I mean, who do we call for the county board of education? I mean, I think there's a distance of of the board members speaking to the community or people knowing who these board members are. Now, city school board members, we know who they are. We hear from them. They're active in our communities at all times. And I still applaud the city of Tuscaloosa school system safety committee and safety supervisors or whatever their position, superintendents, whatever. School safety, I trust them tremendously at the city of Tuscaloosa. I've seen them firsthand, but I'm not very familiar with any safety measures that the county school system offers or have in place that I'm aware of. Of course, everyone responded. I like that, but I'm just saying we need a more open dialogue of what our county school system has to offer, or is prepared for in circumstances of this.
And whatever they do have to offer, like, cause I don't know, what they actually have in place already, but with, law enforcement and service members reporting from all areas, I would think with Tuscaloosa City and County, they should be on one accord. Because when you start getting calls like this, that, from what I was told, was all across the state, um, we have agencies who they they were on one accord today because it was Hillcrest,
Mm-hmm.
because one school, but, um, God forbid, had been more than one school, then it would have been like who reports where. I just kind of do want would like to, I would like to know what do they have, what does the county system have in place, what does the city system have in place, because law enforcement will have their own thing together, but the schools need to, the systems need to be on one accord. I would think, as far as like the information to the parents, where do you go, where do you go to wait for information, don't
Yes.
go on the
Yes.
scene, things
Yes.
like that, because just like when we saw in, Texas, people on the scene, some of them ran in and got their kids. That was a whole fiasco. you
Mm-hmm.
know
Mm-hmm.
People went in and got their kids. Officers didn't do what they were supposed to do, or what they maybe people feel like they should have done. Some have been punished, some have lost their jobs for that. We don't really know what the total outcome is going to be for some of those officers. But when it comes to the schools, like I said, the system should have something in place. But whatever it is, they should both be on accord with the agencies who will report, because I think it happened across the state. So it could have happened at different schools within the county or within the city. It just depended on what the caller wanted to do.
Right. Right.
Mhm. But the one thing that I was concerned about just about today was I don't think that my niece's mother got a phone call at all from the school letting her
Mm.
know one way or the other about anything. All her information came from her daughter,
Mm.
and when it was all said and done. So initially it was mom, I'm scared. There's a they said it's a shooting or something to that aspect, and now everybody is frantic. Um, and then when I got to guess it was an all clear given, she was the one who basically let her know that too. So I was like, okay, so when was the school gonna make these phone calls or send out? I don't know if it should be a mass text or something to let these parents know what the deal is. Because you're dealing with young children. My niece is 14,
Mm-hmm.
so she's a freshman. So you know how you know how they gonna feel. They
They,
might be over the top with it.
right. Right.
So
And let's
uh,
let's let's Mike, and not to cut you off. Let's stop assuming that everyone goes to a web page or or a website to find out the information. Um, I think there needs to be a spokesperson or spokespersons from school systems to announce publicly, to make these kind of announcements to let people know that this is not urgent. Just think how many people actually left
I
their
mean, it could
job.
even take, I'm not sure, but I think because the lady that Rebecca Caldwell had gotten a job with the counties at one point, like some type of communications and marketing, um, person to
Hmm.
make those announcements. But just like when you do an Amber Alert or someone escaped, when the person escaped from the county
Yes,
jail, I
yes.
know people, they don't want to throw people into a panic, but you should be able to make that people want to know. So at least if you've gotten that notification, you'll know what school, and maybe in the note, it doesn't have to be a long text. Come report to, if you want to report to, because when you start calling, everybody's not going to get their call answered either, and you're not going to have somebody that's at the school that's going to be able to call everybody in time. So I just feel like a mass text is the answer as far as notification,
Mm.
because everybody on that child's list, if they're on that list, will receive that text. And if we have things like a call place or a call center, um, available, then they'll know that they can report there and to report there and wait for their information from that person who's designated by each school or by each system to make the call and let everybody know what's going on.
Well, Trey
Because
does.
when you have these active shooters, you also have officers who are waiting to shoot as well. And sometimes it's not the best place to just be popping up at the school, even though your children are there. And that's what a lot of us are going to do.
Yes.
But it just depends on the situation. If we had that mass text, getting constant notifications and constant updates, just as if when you had that used to be a phone call where they would call back when we were in school saying your child is in school today.
Right.
Well, like I said, now they let you know when people escape. That's which is great. You get to know, and then Amber Alerts. Why not mass text when these type of situations happen with schools?
Well, you know, from
I know we was when they had those real bad weather days. They would actually call your parent to tell them to come get you. If it was real bad, unless it was one of them times where they just had you in the hall, or something like that. But if it was really bad, they'll call the parent. I think we had some bomb scares back when I was younger, where they would actually make the phone call. And I'm not saying that they should make a phone call now. I do feel like a lot of people do have some sort of cell phone with text alerts on them. So I think that would be the best thing. But just like you said, Daryl or Veronica, I'm not sure which one of y'all said it, but just like when they do the Amber Alerts and everything, it seems like you should be able to put it in there. And I know that if you have if there's an emergency, anything, they can put it on the TV or something like that. It'll interrupt your TV and show it.
And I, true enough, it might create a panic, but when a when a prisoner escaped from the jail, that create a little panic, don't or a child being abducted, that create a little panic from some people.
But that's true too, Daryl. But let's think about this. If you get a phone call from your child and your child is telling you that they shooting up here at school, that's gonna cause panic. That's gonna cause them so no panic because you getting it right from the source.
Right.
Your child is there. Hey, I got to go and get my baby.
Right.
And so you gonna with those other two scenarios, you will be like, oh dang, but with your child at like Veronica said, we're going up to the school. You got to go up to the school because you want to get your child, and rationale goes out the window at that particular moment in time. You just know that you want your child to be safe. That's one thing that you always thinking about is trying to keep your child safe. And the job is to try to stop the situation, but we got to keep the parents
informed. Yeah.
From coming in there because they can cause a bigger problem all in itself. That's
Now,
more.
Daryl, I think what you were maybe leading to is that there really is no way to inform us without creating a panic with a situation like that.
True.
Mm-hmm.
There won't be a way.
There's going to be a panic, and there's going to be a panic. Whether it's going to be even greater if you don't hear from an outside source or an agency, and you hear it from your child 1st. But sometimes the kids will get it out first because they're on the scene. God forbid if when things like that happen.
Correct.
Perfectly it won't happen, but the person is there. So, but as long as someone has gotten, and it may even take a phone call from a teacher or a student to the outside agencies to even know it first. It's just like when the guy walked into the school at Texas. I think the little kids may have actually seen him first, or someone on the outside saw him first, but I guess they didn't think that's what he was about to do. So it's a panic is going to be created. Like Mike said, the panic is you're gonna feel pushed greater when you hear your child, but maybe if they get it out, somebody once they get it out, this alert, some type of text alert form, mass alert, then you hear your child. Hopefully, that panic can be a little bit more of a relief to hear your child if you hear that first from the outside agencies, the notifying agencies.
Right.
So, it's just it's a hard way to figure out how to not really be panicked. I think any way we're notified, we're going to be panicked about it. But when I think when people say the school didn't even say anything, I think like now, like I said, with that type of situation, you can't just call everybody. So that's the best thing to do. some type of alert, like the Amber Alerts, like the missing prisoners, the escape prisoners, or the weather alerts. Notify the radio stations, the schools, along with alerts going out to mass alerts to everybody's contact number that's on that on your child's list, on his information, his or her information at school.
And from my understanding, other schools went into lockdown mode too. You know, not knowing that knowing that the incident was at another whole different school system. I think some of the other schools went into a lockdown mode also, and I think that's good. Believe me,
That's what I think. That's good.
that's
Yeah.
good. That it could have been a distraction to say, "Hey, go to Hillcrest," but we're gonna do at another school, and
Well,
so
that's and I think that's the ideal thing because it could have been something to try to draw everybody's attention to one school far enough down the road and go into another school like on the other side of town. But then if that had been the case with the president that we had at Hillcrest, how would they have gotten from Hillcrest to Central?
well, like I said, I think once the idea of the call went down, then the other schools systems went into a lockdown, maybe a soft lockdown mode where you weren't able to leave or come into the schools to make sure it wasn't a distraction. Law enforcement is very smart to make sure things like that don't happen or shouldn't happen. But at the same time, if it would have, then there would have been other people responding, of course. But I want to put on the mind of the parents and the grandparents. Um, I think we need to get some kind of idea or policy or procedures of what will take place if, Lord forbid, a scenario or a crisis goes down that the parents are called to the school or get that call from the school. Is there going to be a command post? Is there going to be an information center? How would these things be decided and when? These are questions for our school boards, for our city officials, our church clergy. You know, what as me as a grandparent hearing that from my grandchild, what's my next step rather than
Well,
trying.
let's also ask the question like, what are you? Do you have any active shooting drills going on at the schools? Because do the kids even know what to do in that situation other than just sit in the class?
Well, they some school systems go through what we talked about early in the year, a fight, run, hide, lockdowns, all of that. All those scenarios goes into play if a active shooter do take place. But you know, being a visitor at a school, at a scenario of that, what is the visitor to do? What can the visitor do, or what about the parent or parents that visiting the school or dropping off someone late? What are they to do? What am I or you to do when you get that text or that call from your child or grandchild? Parents, beware! Do not come meet at something of that nature. I see Jesse chiming in, and Patricia and Marcus McKinney. What do you think? I mean, what do we as the people? What do you think we need to put in place to make sure that this type information is relayed to us?
Well,
What's
I think there are board meetings at the city board of education does have board meetings, and especially with what happened today, if I'm not mistaken, they are still open to the public, right?
Yeah, of course.
So maybe that's something that at the next board meeting that can be addressed.
But well, okay, the city board, we had. I don't think no one has a problem with city board in the aspect of getting information out. But this right here happened in the county. Do we have that same type of openness from the county? And most people don't even know that the county.
I don't know if we do or not, but I think just to be on the safe side and to, as we were saying, to try everybody trying to be on one accord, both systems. I mean, I would hope county parents will be welcome to the city school board. I would hope city's parents will be welcome to the county school board. But they, as two systems, like I said, was saying earlier, they need to be on one accord with what happened and how. But the first step for us as citizens would be to address each board, because law enforcement will have to deal with it, and you never know which school it may be.
Well, city.
Hopefully none, but you just never know. So I think the first step is us, when Dara asks what can we do, is we really can't do anything unless but take it to, we can also address law enforcement, have a meeting to see if we can get law enforcement invited, and also as well have members of the board invited to that meeting, or take it, like I said, to a school board meeting. Um, yes, Tuscaloosa is open, but sometimes if you're in the city, I think most of the county, I think most of the county or some of the county parents may know. And if you're a resident, you're kind of like a resident of the city, then you need to get in touch with your county board to find out when, and to see how do they conduct their meetings, how open are they.
Right, right. And let's forget and don't forget that these are elected officials. They are elected officials, and they do have a a they have a well, we should demand an answer. When that situation comes, it need to be like Patricia said, better communication to make sure that everyone can be reassured of rules, procedures that's going to take place if ever, hopefully never, of a circumstances happen of an active shooter in our school systems. Um, there again, you don't know, and I'm gonna use this for an example. The tornado situation back in 2011. Yeah,
11, yeah.
yeah. Um, that tornado was, of course, unexpectedly uh, hit communities throughout from from King Acres all the way to Alberta City. Um, and I can go back far as Bear Creek Road situation, the trailer park there. I responded to both of those. And the one in April of 2011 when I responded, I wasn't even on duty. I wasn't working. I was actually at home, but responded because knowing the areas, for some reason, somehow I learned that it had hit, Rosedale. That's where I learned it had hit for sure. Um, I went, I went to see what kind of assistance I could offer or do to help. My first line of defense was, okay, we know Rosedale been hit. Let's close off the intersection to remain, to stop traffic from going that direction. Only for first responders to get in to make sure help can get to those that needed help. That was my first sign of. Once I drove up and to see anyone that was, doing that at that point, um, we set up a line of defense to make sure first responders and people could get in to help. Not knowing it had hit from Rosedale all the way to Alberta City, I'm just in this one vicinity of Rosedale. And I think the training of first aid and different things started to kick in. But here's what I didn't know. Where are the people that survived were going? What was I to tell people that were coming to check on loved ones? What could I tell them at that point? Where was a meeting point or information center? Those were things that I couldn't tell people. Ma'am, all I can say is we do know there are people that are injured. Right now we can't answer any question. You know, what am I telling a loved one that want to know what's going on with their loved one that's in Rosedale that was hit by a tornado?
Mm.
It's extremely difficult, and it arises when it makes us know that there's a industry that needs to arise from this. Like there needs to be some sort of emergency, I guess some emergency action plan that needs to come of this.
Yes. Yes.
For natural disasters such as tornadoes, floodings, and even something like a mass shooting
Yes.
or active shooting scenarios at the schools, at the hospital, or anywhere where there's a crowd of people in. Being this is Tuscaloosa, and at any given time there can be a crowd of people at a sporting event.
Mm-hmm.
And it's plenty of potential for active shooters. So if we had that emergency action plan in place, then every emergency technician, I would say police officer, EMS person, um, and even firefighters would all know what they're doing, what they're telling everybody, and have an actual direction of where to go. And maybe winging.
Mike, and what you're saying is pretty much what I think the community wants to know. What's the emergency response plan for parents, for the community? It was a good thing that people did somehow. I don't know who directed, but from my understanding, a lot of people were told to go over to Valley View Church right there off 69. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that was just a command post. I don't know if that was an information center, but at that location was a great location to divert people to get information. And so I think every scenario is going to be different, but I think we need to know. People want us to know: will there be a information center? Who will relay that information center? How can I find out more about that information center, regardless of where it happened, what happens in this community? That way, people won't be so frantic to go to the actual location of the incident. So that's some of the questions I think we need to start sharing more and more. Like I said, the tornado scenario, and come to find out, and I'll say 2 hours into the April 2011 situation, finally I was told that people were told to make their way to Bowers Park. Now I'm at Rosedale, Greensboro. I'm actually at the intersection of the Chevron and Greensboro Avenue and 10th Avenue. Locklear Dodge was on the right side. It was hit also. So
Well, it was gone. That was JD Bow at that time.
Yes, at that time. So that area, that's where I was. So now I'm getting word from people that's leaving the vicinity of Rosedale saying they said go to Bowers Park.
Mm-hmm.
You know how far Bowers Park is from that location?
I absolutely do. During that particular incident, I was in Sahama Village. And I know you know where that's
Yes,
located.
yes.
And I was actually up on the pole when that siren went off. I was actually almost blown off that pole by a gust of wind. Mm-hmm. Probably the hardest wind I ever felt. Um, and I came off the pole and left. So I probably missed being in that tornado probably by about 10 minutes.
Wow.
So,
but I guess my question would be, that being that location, that particular area, what would have been the next best location for an information center?
on Greensboro Avenue, I'm gonna be honest with you, they would have had to get somewhere that was far enough away from all the carnage because it was carnage there.
Mm-hmm.
There was an apartment complex across the street from Rosedale, what's it called Charleston Square, I think it was.
Yeah, Fountain
That
Square.
was completely destroyed. It was blown completely down.
Oh yeah.
Uh, so when you have people, you have where's the next best place for everybody to go? Would have probably been I would have said 15th Street, but 15th Street was hit. So I guess Bowles Park was the next place that was big enough that hold people um, that really wasn't hit like that. And I guess that's the part that they had to take in consideration for everything. But there was a great distance to have to get there. And how many of them people had cars? Because most of their cars were gone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And not only that, like I said, the family members that are responding um, to check on loved ones. I mean, the question would be, do you allow them to go in to help, or are they in the way of of of, of what law enforcement first responders are trying to do?
Whoa. I think it depends on what type of disaster or um, active situation that you have. When it comes to an active shooter, if they're responding the way it's being said that they're responding today, that's why I say a lot of times everybody's going to go because it's their kids. So that's a lot of times where all you have is perimeter. But if you have people acting like they did in Valdosta, those people were going in, and it seemed like law enforcement needed help. And they was more about trying to keep people out, but they weren't doing what they should have been doing. So it depends on, and we can learn a lot from what the things that have happened.
Right.
So hopefully our communities are paying attention, like from law enforcement to just us, and are paying attention when things like that happen. When that happens in Texas, I would hope that every community in the United States said, okay, what do we have in place? What happened?
Yes, yes, Veronica,
Um,
you're bringing up
when
exactly
that
what I'm
happened,
thinking.
I think everybody across the United States should have said, what do we have in place?
What do we have in place? And that's what I wanted to bring this attention to for this particular program. What the community needs to know under those
What,
circumstances. What
but now, even with just the community, what about well, one of the other problems that happened in Texas was no one seemed to know who was running the show over there. Who would take jurisdiction over any particular given incident?
well,
Would it be the sheriff department? Would it be Tuscaloosa PD, or would they wait for a leader to come down? How would they? Who's going to be in charge? That was it. Wound up being a whole bunch of pointing of the fingers in Texas, and you don't want to have that situation here if it was to happen.
well, take let's take this in consideration. Tuscaloosa City is a part of Tuscaloosa County, so
Mhm.
county can take control, but more than likely each system, I guess you can say Tuscaloosa Police Department will probably take control of a city situation. And by Hillcrest being in the county, we would assume that the county sheriff department would take control of a scenario that's relating to the county school systems. Um, that would be my reasonable, but at the same time, you can have state and federal to come in and take over both scenarios. It's just either way. It just what's best to get help for the kids. But no one needs to fight over jurisdiction. It's just a matter of getting control of the situation, um, and like we're all trying to talk about, a plan in place. What's the plan in place that the community can be aware of under those circumstances? Now, I don't think anything like that is in the student handbooks that I know of. Um, of course, you talk about in student handbooks, curriculum. You talk about disciplinary. You talk about um, procedure, policy and procedure for changing classes, academic stuff, after school closing. But is there anything in your school um, manuals right now that's addressed this? Patricia said, start with the communication with the security guard. Yes, in circumstances of a active shooter, hopefully that officer or personnel will be they're in control to communicate back and forth with what's going on. But this goes to show you now, I don't think this county school system has as many school resource officers as the city does. The last count I heard, the city school system had just about an officer or two at every high school, middle school, and elementary school. But the county, of course, has way more schools than the city. So they're not, the sheriff department at this point in time is not able to put deputies in every school. I think they have deputies that work uh, vicinities. And when I say that, I would say Hillcrest Middle, Hillcrest High, Duncanville, uh, Inglewood, uh, what's the other little elementary school that's right there? And it's another elementary school, second grade or grade school.
Maxwell?
No, on this, well, down 69. I'm just thinking down 69 Duncanville area. Okay. So you got school resources that handle that vicinity. Then over in Northport, you have County High, you have the Northport Middle, you have all the little middle school or elementary schools that's in that area. That particular school resource officer handle that area. So there again, this should bring, if nothing else, more attention to the fact that, of course, some more school resource officers or more school resources for security at more county schools to make sure that we can have adequate amount of communication from the schools as well as to uh, the sheriff department. Patricia said, I might be wrong, but I heard the security guard was sitting in the car. Don't quote me on this. I heard that. I'm not sure. You know, it was. I'm assuming it was early, and I'm not even going to comment on that. He could have been actually getting ready to go to another school. Probably could have been just arriving to the school, and I don't think this was a call that just went all out. So I think we as a community just kind of want to know what's going to be, what can we do, or what will the school systems or city officials do to reassure better communications with our parents and grandparents if a scenario of this matter happens.
The phone lines are open for everybody who's out there listening. 205-310-6067. If you have any comments or any suggestions, we'd like to hear from you.
Correct.
Of course, you can write in messenger also.
What I do seem to have noticed is that though they were kind of confused in Texas with who was to take the lead, and it seems like those who could respond immediately were reluctant to take the lead because they had not encountered something like that before.
Mm-hmm.
But I think our area may be a little bit bigger, even and if it's not a little bit bigger, we seem like we have more law enforcement. Tuscaloosa County, excuse me, our cities seem to work well together, and with what happened today, there was city response, county response, other counties responded.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing that was different. It seems like it was just their local, and I don't know why it took so long for the others to respond. Maybe they didn't know yet. Maybe the locals didn't communicate the threat to them in the manner that they should have. But it seems like it took them a little bit longer. It seems like once they knew that the car was out to the top, to the big guns, they just kind of waited. I just feel like, what is the training here? I think that the training is such here that they would not have waited the way that happened. So we can kind of maybe try to look at some of the things that we don't know for sure, but what seems to be like good things, like as far as the way our local law enforcement responded. Seems like everybody is satisfied with the way, with the numbers they responded. So I would hope when in that situation where children and teachers and whoever's involved, that communication wouldn't be an issue on the scene as far as who takes the lead. Because like I said, there the county is the county. It's the much bigger, like the Tuscaloosa City is just a one seat of the county, even though it's the major city.
Mm-hmm.
I would think the county takes the lead and then the city, but I would hope that there's no if there was a better way to do things, or that what seemed to be better at the time, that there would be no arguing or bickering, even if it was Hill County and they came up with a better solution. With that response, at least it seems like they would not have had to have waited on anybody. But it seems
I
like it
agree
was
with
a
that.
lot of. It seems like a lot of waiting was going on at
I
the
agree. I
of the
think
incident.
if we got a good plan in place, then we should run with that. I think that fine tuning any plan would be great right now. And the biggest thing that we're talking about, all three of us actually have said, is communication between the people who are handling the incident and the parents, to make sure that the parents are not panicking and coming up there and causing a bigger issue.
Because let's think about it, Mike. I mean, if there's a gunman inside somewhere, law enforcement are not going to let you take the lead in going inside a dangerous scenario of that matter.
That's
Um,
correct.
there again, and I'm just thinking of scenarios I've personally been in here locally in the past here in Tuscaloosa, even in a hostage situation. Um, we had the West End hostage situation back in the 80s. We had, of course, we had domestic violence hostage barricade scenarios where, family members knowing their loved one is in an apartment with a gunman. Don't you think they want to go in there? But law enforcement can't let you go in, put you in harm's way where, you and someone else can get, taken out. So let's just think policy and procedure that we have to first respect the first line of defense, that law enforcement officers that are on the outside um, directing or trying to redirect people to a certain location, that they would abide by those particular rules and regulations, that you please follow the policy in place, that okay, everyone is asked to go to, and I'm gonna use what we had in place today. We're asking everyone to go to the parking lot of Valley View Baptist Church. Here's another scenario. I'm gonna give y'all another scenario. We have the storm shelters. Who's in charge of the storm shelters when there's a threat of um, severe weather?
That's a very good question there.
Is it the emergency? The I can't think of the name, the correct name of it, but there's the EMA. Is it the EMA?
Well, we know
What's
the
our EMA?
we know that they put out the idea of severe weather coming. But I'm saying,
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
okay, let's.
but do they not have the people? Is it not them or people from that group that also?
I've been on scenarios of severe storms since I've been out of law enforcement, and at one time there was a officer was assigned to one of them, and I mean he was just there to keep the peace, but there was not a directly head person to say, is all clear that I know of at that particular time. So I guess my question is, who make the decision at the um, let's use McDonough Hughes Center storm shelter for example. People come. Of course, the parking is never enough parking when that scenario situation comes up. That's one issue I do have with that. And um, is there enough personnel there to assist in making sure that that location is ran properly? In other words, if I was there, people bringing dogs. Is there a policy and procedure just saying that all animals must go here, or it, kids want to go play basketball? Is there someone at this point taking control to say at this moment, please take shelter? This is not a moment for playing basketball. This is not a moment of up dancing and playing your music. I mean, these are things that I'm certain I've heard happen. Is there someone in control of that particular area to say of that storm shelter to make sure that people can feel safe and get proper information?
And I truly don't. I truthfully don't know. If it done in Houston, I would only guess that it might be everybody who's running the back down in Houston. They might require them to stay around to.
I mean, these are just questions, Mike. I mean, you're right. These are just questions. Is there someone or some people that are in place to manage those particular locations during a severe weather storm? And Val says facility security, but um, like I said, police officer was at the one I was at um, back a couple years ago at the not the one at the McDonough Hughes Center, but the one at the technology school. But things seem to have gotten out of control for as who to listen to, space wise, for as um, chairs and comfortability of the people um, hadn't gotten a little bit out of control of what's going to happen, what need to happen, and how long we're going to be there. Food is there, things of that nature. I mean, I'm just thinking, was there a pantry of food? Will there be a pantry of food? Who's gonna be in charge? I think of the scenario back. I seen that movie, Last Day on Earth, or some movie where it was a snowstorm that came through New York. I can't think of the name of it, but
The whole United States, actually.
yes, and
The whole North Hemisphere. Yeah.
and the officer was in the library when everybody showed up and the water came, and the officer said, "Okay, I see life out here. We all gonna leave now." Well, he could have. He pretty much led people to death, but some stayed. The few people that did stay. But I guess the scenario is who's gonna be in charge of a scenario. Val say, "Isn't there signage posted?" That's a good question, Val. I'm not sure who manage, who's in charge. Are there people that's in charge of these storm shelters? I'm not sure what's prohibited and what's not prohibited. Like I said, I heard of one scenario where dogs were brought inside the storm shelter. I'm not an animal lover. I'm sorry, I'm not. I mean, but I understand some people want to bring the animals inside the storm shelter. But is it fair for a animal to not be leased, or some kind of some kind of way of making sure I can feel comfortable and safe of not being bitten by a dog or whatever, that's something that we need to address also. Now I know we got some political we got some political leaders that's on here watching. If you would, you can call and give us some information on the procedure of the particular incidents. I mean, this is real. This reality. We got a threat of severe thunderstorm tomorrow.
Yes.
So if I go to a storm shelter, who do I address issues with? I mean, it, think about it. Is there going to be someone that I could talk to say, hey, I think this is, a better idea, or hey, we got a situation over here. You might have fights going on. You believe me.
And does anybody know who has been at these shelters in the past? Because I think certain council people, maybe even certain state council people have been at some of these shelters at certain times. I'm not sure if they were at every occasion where the storm shelters were used, but I know that there have been times where the local and even some state officials have been there, um, and other people who would be deemed leaders of the community have been there.
And like
But I
Val,
don't know that it was each and every time, and
and
I don't know who's designated to be there.
exactly, that's what I'm saying. Is it a designation now? Some of my friends that work with the police department that's considered resource officers. They do go to the locations. They have been assigned to different locations for the thing. But are they in charge? I mean, what's their role? Are they there to support personnel, or are they actually the in charge person? I mean, that's a good question. I would like to know. And if it is, it okay. And if it is, Val say, isn't there a signage posted? Yeah, the day after tomorrow. Just say, yeah, the day after tomorrow. That's the move I'm talking about. But if it is it posted that certain people are on call or will respond to this particular location? Okay, who do they keep roll? Do you sign in that you're here? You know what I'm saying? These are things. I guess. I mean, I went there one time, and that was at the that was at the technology center. I don't remember there being a sign in list or anything of that nature. But I guess that would be something we need to ask just in case there was a scenario and severe weather hit and a tornado and people on the.
This is a city that we always deal with some sort of severe weather, either thunderstorm, tornado warnings, uh,
And
it's
now
year
Florida
round. It's not just a certain season. It's year round.
and Florida.
Um, and generally, when we start talking about doing all kind of action plans, if you would, there's always some sort of drill. We always had to do storm drills when we were in school. You know, if it was just go outside, face the wall, put your head between your knees, um, just so you'll know exactly what to do, and you run through it a couple of times a year, even if you'll never use it.
Mike, let me just correct you about something right now about that. They don't do that no more. They do the fire drill, but
I understand.
the weather drill, no sir. If right now I think what's in place is if there's a threat of severe weather,
You go home.
school is going to either be canceled prior to the estimated time that the meteorologists suspect the weather will hit our area, or it's canceled. Those are the two scenarios. Those are.
I mean, I get that part. I mean, I understand about the weather part for the schools, but like you said, they still do the fire drill, so they'll know where to go. Because you have to evacuate the building.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Uh, but you have people have to know where to go in these type of situations, so they don't just be wandering around, being in places where they can get themselves hurt. Wouldn't that be the same type of scenario in that shelter or in that active shooting
Well,
scenario also?
okay. So, well, the, the storm shelter situation is kind of totally different because let's say they predicting storm shelter uh, predicament probably 4 o'clock until on tomorrow. Well, is there someone that's hired to do these particular jobs at these particular locations? I don't know. I don't know. Other than first responders themselves that, understand that, hey, my job calls for me to be in these circumstances that I can't be with my family to through this storm because or my family must come with me to this storm shelter. That's the logic I'm thinking. But I'm just saying, are people hired or paid or volunteers or whatever to go to these storm shelters to do these jobs? Want to say hello to Bridget Drew Nelson. How you doing? If you know anything.
Well, then that comes the thing with pay, because everything always comes to pay, and when it's kind of like this is when things like that come to pay, and people are going to work for a little change, but at the same time, they don't want to pay people a decent pay. I mean, I'm not going to say everybody in every situation doesn't want to pay a decent pay. My thing is, when it's something that's temporary in a few hours, go ahead and just give the people a little something. Because if it's somebody that's doing something, and when I say a little something, I don't mean like a little something. I'm saying pay them a good, pay them well. Because most times, if it's a storm shelter, they're probably going to be there. I'd say most cities or townships or something like that probably say expect to be there anywhere from 4 to 36 hours, depending on what's going on. Like if you're in the midst of a storm.
Mhm.
Now, what happens after the storm? Of course, people will need to have places to stay temporarily. Everybody, you can't get to the hotels and Red Cross and that kind of stuff. So I'm saying, as far as right there in the eye of it, you should expect that, like tomorrow, like you said, there's potential for bad weather for about, I would say, there should be something in place for set amounts of time. Like if you're impending weather, 4 to 20, 24, 36 hours. And then, of course, after that, the places we have now can't really accommodate people like we had the storms in 2011. So we know that there are going to be some people that need pay the people. We have funds for everything else. We were just talking today about how these local business people are getting $56,000 as an incentive to kind of annex a part of their building into Tuscaloosa City when it's really in Northport. I mean, and then we got Q here fighting to try to keep the Black Y open. You know, so the city can give a business or owner, these big time rich men, $56,000 trying to get them to annex their business into the city of Tuscaloosa. But when it comes to stuff like saving the library or things like these storm shelters, nobody has any money.
Well, that would be a question. I guess we really need to get from the EMA, or from our city officials. I mean, what's in place? Are these
Because
scenarios?
I really think that that's what they will boil down to there. Because like you said, like who's manning the place, who's manning the facilities. Well, you can get the volunteers, maybe certain people to volunteer, certain leaders to volunteer for so long. But like I said, sometimes those things looking like they may go from 4 to 36 hours. Pay
Mm-hmm.
people, pay them. They pay people. Like don't they pay poll workers? I mean,
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
pay people and pay them a decent amount because think about it. Not only are they men in that place, they're away from home. Most people want to be at home when bad weather's out, when the weather's bad.
You know,
So pay them. It's not like it's going to be weeks and weeks and weeks worth of pay.
some cities they use these storm shelters as warming stations also. I think Birmingham does that. The same places that other storm shelters are warm stations. So those same people they're there for the storms. They're there for warming stations. So they actually have a set number of people. They have a set crew of people that work that facility, and I think that that's probably where we need to go here. And then at least you'll know who you're supposed to be talking to at each facility, one way or another. But the question is, will they do it like that?
Well, I don't know, and I'm gonna just say this. Let's just take the McDonough Hughes Center for example. I'm pretty sure the staff at the McDonough Hughes Center after 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, if they getting off, they're not in no position or wanting to be in any position to go to work over um, at the storm shelter. But I'm not sure. I'm not. And in other words, I guess I'm just curious who's in charge and who should be in charge in those scenarios. Is the law enforcement officer that's there? Is he in charge? Can he or she deny a person from leaving the storm shelter? Can he deny a person from not coming to the storm shelter?
If you start running, if you're talking about just one person, there with probably hundreds of folks in there, is he going to be enough? That
Exactly.
one person.
Exactly.
That's why I don't believe in the process of like mandating somebody to stay who their job is just to man the McDonough Hughes Center on a totally different scenario. Like this is a day to day scenario, and then this is like because of a storm or whatever it may be. It just maybe needs to be people set in kind of like you have tactical units for different things. I mean, it needs to be a set of group of people who have agreed to maybe do this. It could be volunteers, it could be retirees, it could be um, security company. It could be that could be a contract for a security company.
Don't you say that, because I can't find nobody to work now. So
um,
it would have been a good idea, but right now, no.
but okay, like sometimes it's just like okay, like you can't find anybody to work right now. Sometimes it's just you know how like you go through like you just go through those just like most jobs go through the high turnover rate towards holidays because people just want to get in there and get it and quit it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So you just have to sometimes it just takes you know, God forbid a storm comes during that time, but sometimes it just takes um you know, a certain rate of turnover to get those right people who would do that. And then, especially with you being like a family business, you probably have friends and family right now there who you could train to a certain degree that would show up for something like that before some of the workers that you've been hiring, like you know what I'm saying, as regular workers on a regular basis.
So far, I can say I've been blessed with some very dedicated family and friends. Um,
Exactly.
that
So
that
that I think that, and then when it comes to stuff like that, when stuff is happening in the community, I do see it seems like people do kind of come together a little bit
mm-hmm,
better
mm-hmm.
during that time. So I would think that the city, hey, I'm just saying, I would think that contract with them, you know, see how what's going on, how's it going on, and like you said, even though your turnover rate right now, you can't get people to come. When it's stuff like that, people become more family oriented. The community comes together a little bit more, and you might have people coming at you who will come in that particular situation. And like I said, family and friends, with a situation like that, they know it's just a few hours. They know it may be up to a couple of days. They may be more willing to do that at that point in time.
Okay, Val made a very interesting point. She said, "I'm certain there are policies and procedure in place for access to official storm shelters. Now, whether an assertive awareness campaign has been executed regarding policy, that I don't know. Maybe it's time to ask city government."
But see, that's what we talk about all the time. People just need to know.
Yeah, we want to
So
know.
that's what I'm saying. I think that there's something, or even if it's not, it's like when we go into we talk about with the schools. Those meetings aren't open with the city, I know as last I checked, and you can go. And they may not talk about it that first meeting you go, but maybe it's something they can put on the agenda for the next meeting. Don't they meet every what is it, Tuesday?
I'm,
I
I'm
think
finna,
it is. But as far as the city, I don't know about the counties. Theirs maybe Thursday. I'm not sure,
let me,
but they have meetings.
I'm gonna go to the website and see is there anything on there about that Tuscaloosa EMA, just to see if there anything on there that we could share. Emergency, what is it?
Um,
Man,
EMA
Emergency
emergency.
Management
You know what?
Center.
I call it EMA so much. I don't know what the
Emergency Management
acronym
Association.
is.
Emergency Management, a association. I'm gonna just let's just see. Is there anything in place? Let's see. Bridget Nielsen said, "Does Tuscaloosa have a plan in place for a citywide disaster period? Those are some things the city need to discuss because it can very well happen. Tuscaloosa need more storm shelters in place because these homes are not holding up to the storms. I say, ask the communities to have a rotation of volunteers who would be willing to go and open up the shelters." Yeah, great suggestion. I mean, and like you were saying, Veronica, people do tends to come together more so under circumstances of that matter. Emergency management agency. Okay, there it is. Tuscaloosa County EMA. Report storm. Attention Tuscaloosa County residents and business owners. Uh, report your storm damage. Report your storm damage directly to Tuscaloosa County EMA by visiting www.tuscaloosacountyema.org. Now that was from November 29th. I'm sorry. Let's see. 4 hours ago, it put out flash flood. Tuscaloosa County under a flood watch from late tonight through Wednesday evening. Excessive runoff may occur, resulting in flooding of rivers, creeks, streams, and other low-lying floodplain. Creeks and streams may rise out of the banks. Let's see. Then they show pictures of severe storm possibility. Make sure you have your emergency plan in place and be signed up for Tusk Alert. Tusk Alert. So that's something you can put on your phone to get information from them. Uh, Talking about drawing. Um, okay, they did put something out. Well, the police department put something out through the Tuscaloosa County EMA. Parents cannot drive to the school to pick up their children. It is no longer necessary to meet at Valley View. We ask the parents to remain in their vehicles while waiting for their kids. TPD also assisted the sheriff office after an unfounded threat was called to Hillcrest High at 9:57 a.m. today. Thank you for all the parents who remained calm during such a frightening situation, and to all the drivers on Highway 69 who cleared the way for so many emergency vehicles running lights and sirens. That was good. That was good. Uh, I see that our very own Miss Tamara Kroon is the deputy director of Tuscaloosa County EMA, and maybe it's time to have her on our show.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like that's what we need because I don't. I see where they talk about the monthly siren test that goes on. Um, okay, you can go to the Tuscaloosa County EMA to see which storm shelter is open near you. Let me open this website and see. Okay, is there any particular? You got Big Sandy Elementary, Brookwood High School, Brookwood Storm Shelter, Brew Elementary, Carroll Creek, Coling, Coker, Eccles Middle School, Hagler Storm Shelter, Hope Community Tornado Shelter, Hope Elementary, Lordwood, Montgomery Fire Department Shelter, Mount Olive, Myrtlewood, Salvation Army Shelter, Safe Room on Greensboro, Samantha Northside Park, Sipsey Valley Middle School, the University of Alabama, Tussauds City, Alberta School of Performing Arts, McDonough Hughes Center, uh, Tussauds City area Northridge High School, Tussauds City area Paul W. Bryant, Scotland Elementary, Tussauds Career and Technology. Okay, so they gave us a list. Let me see. Storm shelters, contacts.
I honestly did not know that Scotland Elementary was a storm shelter.
Yes, Scotland Elementary is one. University Place, um, Van Storm Shelter, Yellow Creek Volunteer Fire Department, and I'm gonna just tap on one when they say more information. Let's see. Okay, so here's what we got in place. Say for example, in Vance they're saying shelter rules per city of Vance. No tobacco products, no pets, no profanity, no glass bottles, no alcohol, no food or drink. Hmm. Okay. Now that I don't agree with, but okay. Let's see. Let's see. Go up here to Tuscaloosa Magnet School. Uh, McDonough Houston. Let's see what the rules and regulations in there, if there's one. Public shelter number 562-3215. Directional signal to the shelter 242 parking spaces. Ooh, I don't find that to be true. 242? That must be in the whole area. That's not true. The shelter is open when the city of Tuscaloosa informed them of an immediate sign of severe weather. Shelter rules per para. So these are under the rules of para. Your shelter is pet friendly, but owners must meet the following rules. Owners must be present with their animal and it must be under control. Only domestic animals under 140 pounds are permitted. No reptiles, fish, or insects are allowed. Dogs should be in a crate or leased and muzzled. All other animals must be crates. Pet owners should bring a bowl for water for pets and should clean up after them. Animals will be excluded from the safe room if they exhibit dangerous or disruptive behavior. Animals should be vaccinated as appropriate. Service animals are allowed, but owners are encouraged to restrain the dog with leash and muzzle, as long as it doesn't interfere with their work. For safety reasons, those violating these rules may be asked to leave. The number of people entering the building will be recorded. Individuals can bring games, prescription medication, flashlight, phone chargers. No weapon, smoking, or alcohol when in safe room is allowed. Water fountain, restrooms, and bleachers for sitting are available. A TPD officer and first aid kit will be located in the shelter. Paraofficials and TPD will be in charge during the event. Doors will be locked and individuals must stay inside when weather outside becomes unsafe. State, federal, and health laws rules will be followed. Well, there you go. There you go. So para official.
So Para runs the McDonough Hughes Center, or are they running like the other storm shelters, or like the Salvation Army, or is that a whole different person that's running it?
Well, let me.
And if that's the case, then that's a bunch of different rules that got to be followed too, right?
Well, we can go by, and I'm gonna go to which ones. Let's go to the Tuscaloosa. Let's go to the one right up the street from the McDonough Center. What was it? School of Career Technology. Let's
Mm-hmm.
see, 2,800 make for. I mean, okay, so certified service animals only are permitted. Certified service animals will be excluded from the safe room if they exhibit dangerous or disruptive behavior. For safety reasons, those violating these rules may be asked to leave. The number of people entering the building will be recorded. Individuals can't bring games, prescriptions, no weapons, smoking alcohol, water fountain. Tuscaloosa police will be in charge during the event. Doors will be locked and individuals must stay inside when weather outside becomes unsafe. So at this particular facility, it's saying the Tuscaloosa Police Department is in charge during that event. There's no other officials. That's
So
it.
that one officer is in charge of everybody.
In charge.
Mm.
Let's see. It don't say the number of people that can go to this particular one. I keep telling you about this city website stuff. People just don't go. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I just don't think people go to websites as often as people think. But
Well,
no,
they
the,
don't, and some people don't have the access that everybody thinks that they have either. Just because they have a phone does not mean they have access to the internet Wi-Fi. Did they ever get the free Wi-Fi on the west side where it was supposed to be?
I'm not
All
sure.
that, all that stuff that never did come. Nothing never comes to the west side as it's supposed to. So a lot of times people don't have access like everybody else. See, people because one person feels because they have it or all their friends have it that everybody has it. And the first thing I cannot stand when I hear people say everybody got so and so now. No, everybody does not.
So
Everybody does not.
it appeared that all the schools safe rooms are just police officers in charge. There's no personnel, and only service animals are permitted. So let me go to one of the county safe rooms. Let's see. Simpson Valley Middle. Let's see what they say. Ooh. Rules: no pets, no smoking, no drugs or alcohol drinks, and no weapons. Shelter will only be open outside of school hours and during the most extreme weather situations. During school hours, the shelters are open for student, faculty, and staff only. And that's it. They made it very short and clear. No pets, no smoking, no drugs or alcohol, holiday beverages, and no weapon. No information on who's in charge, none of that. See, that was, now I gotta give our city people, we gotta get them their prop, y'all. They went in details of rules and regulations. Uh, Samantha Northside Park shelter is owned by Para and operated by Samantha Volunteer Fire Department. No rules and regulations. Salvation Army safe room. No rules and regulations. It only says safe room will open in the event of a tornado watch or warning is issued. All right, so that need to be revisited. You see what I'm saying? That it should be it should be some rules and regulations and who's in charge and this circumstance that circumstance. Now I don't
Yeah,
know.
because really, if you go to the
Who's
side,
gonna open it? Who's gonna open it? Or is everybody just gonna be standing around waiting outside for the doors to be open?
Volunteers from whoever, I guess. Myrtlewood Elementary Shelter is During school hours, the shelters are open for student, faculty, and staff. Rules: no pets, no smoking, no drugs or alcohol. No alcoholic drinks, and no weapons. So at least you can bring something to drink at this one and something to eat. Now that's what I disagree with the one at the city on that because they got the water fountains turned off. But maybe they'll bring that to their attention. Um, Hope Community. Oh, looking good right here. Shelter rules. You must sign in when entering the shelters. I like that. Respect and take care of the shelter. No weapons, no alcohol, no smoking inside or near entrance of the shelter. No pets allowed. Keep your area and building clean. Treat everyone with respect. Yes. When weather becomes unsafe, individuals must stay inside. Individuals can bring bottled water, snacks, games, medication, flashlight, phone chargers. Metal folding chairs provided if you need special accommodation. Feel free to bring your own chair or chair cushion. Do not leave personal belongings. The shelter is only used as a storm shelter. And you know what? None of them has addressed handicapped situations. Elderly and handicapped need to be addressed in some of these rules and regulations. But if it's only one officer,
True.
if it's only one officer, he can't push a wheelchair and maintain control on the inside too. That's just a suggestion. Way to go. That was Hope Community. I like that, Hope.
Yeah, Hope was kind of detailed with everything, and not too stringent, that's to say.
Let's see. Colon. The shelter will be open to the public in the event of a tornado warning. Further information can be found on the town website. No rules, no policies. Okay. Buell School. Let's see what they say. Straight to the point. No pets, no smoking, no drugs or alcoholic beverages, and no weapons. And when you get places like that, though, it's saying during school hours it's not open to the public. Why not? Because that's the only storm shelter in their vicinity, isn't it? More than likely. So you would want the community people to come because that's where the kids are. That's kind of like a small community shelters.
Mm-hmm.
Brookwood High School. Let's see what they say. Straight to the point. No pets, no smoking, no drugs or alcoholic beverages, and no weapons. Okay. Big Sandy. Let me see. That's over there by me. Let's see what we can do. Same thing. No pets, no smoking, no drugs, alcoholic beverages, and no weapons. Who gonna check for weapons? If you ain't got nobody there.
Yeah, one officer got a lot to do.
Well, look, that was the county now. Remember these other schools like Brookwood and Big Sandy Elementary and all those shelters. There's no one there's no one named to be in charge. I don't know. But
So who gonna open it up then?
that I don't know. It didn't say. Val said Google active shooter policy for Tussauds City and county schools. Okay, let's Google that and see what they got in place. We ain't gonna keep y'all much longer, y'all. I know. These are just some questions I think people have or should have in mind because we hadn't faced these are things we hadn't faced on our own.
Well, yeah, and I think a lot of these questions don't come up until it actually happens, and it kind of hit real close to home today by having a heel press. So now there's other questions that everybody has to have, especially when it comes down to the parent and the parent knowing what's going on with their kids. Not just the parents, because you got grandparents, you got aunts and uncles. Everybody want to know about people they got going to their school. All the kids are going to their school.
Well, I'm just glad it wasn't a real scenario, real live situation that didn't happen. Um,
I agree with you, and also that it wasn't one that would have taken a long time because then I wonder how would it have been? Because would you be able to hold those parents out? How long would you be able to hold all those parents out? Because some folks gonna be like they're going in to get their children, especially if they say it's like one or two shooters. And some of them gonna go in there with their own personal weapon, which will cause a whole another problem all in itself.
well, Val, is there a policy? I did it twice. I didn't get anything. I know when I did put up, there was a coronavirus um, policy and mask mandate policy, but I'm not getting anything under the active shooter policy. I put it in twice, two different ways. Tussauds City School active shooter policy. Put that in.
Do you think that if they had a policy like that, it would actually be on the internet though, right?
It need to be.
So, because they actually pretty good about putting everything on the internet so that you can see
Right, right. And I like the transparency of that. I really do. Matter of fact, I think more agencies like law enforcement, police department, uh, code of conducts, and police policy and procedures. I think more of their transparency of these particular policies need to be available and accessible. Kyle Porter said, question is, were they able to track where the phone call came and who made the call because there wasn't anyone out there? I'm not sure. I hadn't heard of any arrests. None of them. I hadn't heard of any arrests. Now, this, like I said, it wasn't just the city of Tuscaloosa it just wasn't in Tuscaloosa County. I think it happened in 7 other different locations.
it. Can I be honest with those phone numbers right now? I know personally, I have received this month alone probably a thousand phone calls, and some of them actually from people right here in town, but they're not from the people. For some reason, they got apps on people's phones that you can spoof a phone number, and so if you try to call it back, it's gonna be busy or it's not gonna go to anything. So it's probably not gonna be as easy as you think it is to trace a phone call. Not especially they made it on one of those type of digital phones.
Okay, I see State of Alabama active shooter strategic response plan. Now that's for the law enforcement. Active shooter emergency response policy for school sites. Let me see. I'll check on that one. Ooh. It is the policy of school district to provide an active shooter emergency response plan to alert employees that an active shooter appeared to be active, engaged in killing or interrupting to kill people at the school site. Our active shooter response plan is based on giving employees authority to make crucial decisions that will save lives. School shootings typically end within a few minutes before law enforcement arrive. Run, hide, and fight. Law enforcement response. Law enforcement personnel will arrive to respond to the emergency following these recommendations. Comply with all police instruction. First responding officer will focus on stopping the active shooter, and that is all. As others arrive, there will be clearing areas for follow-on emergencies and medical teams. Post-incident actions. Medical assistance, accountability, counseling, OSHA. In the event there is a fatality or employees is hospitalized, the treatment, OSHA will be notified if there is a fatality. And that's it. None of the
I
questions.
see here on this site where it says public school in review, and it was updated October 13th of this year. And oh my God, here they go with these gun rights folks. In the aftermath of numerous shootings at schools since 2012, they're talking about Mobile, starting, I guess becoming more involved with the active shooter, with Alabama's active shooter policy as well. So I guess maybe it wasn't mandatory that everybody, each school system be involved. But as they talk about this, the first thing that they say is basically they're saying it's a tough situation maneuvering around gun owners' rights. And the situation, first of all, schools aren't supposed to be within so many feet of, guns aren't supposed to be within so many feet of a school. So, regardless of what people feel about their gun rights, guns aren't supposed to be within so many feet of a school. But why is it hard to come up with policies because of people and their gun rights?
Mm, mm, mm.
That's the first thing they talk about. Then moving beyond controversy. My word, according to the Dothan First, the active shooter drill will differ from the standard lockdown exercises. So I guess Mobile was having issue active shooter policies first on the drawing board. AL.com reports that the first policies to be given serious consideration by the State Board of Education will be those, and this is in October, will be those involving active shooter scenarios. The board recently voted unanimously to approve a resolution to implement a new active shooter policy in all public schools throughout the state. This new policy includes annual active shooter drills with training for school staff to be overseen by the Alabama Department of Homeland Security. We want to make it more difficult for the bad guys to get access to our schools. Mary Scott Hunter, a member of the Board of Education, told AL.com. According to Dothan First, the active shooter drill would differ from the standard lockdown exercises previously done in schools. The new drills will specifically address the issue of an intruder entering the school. Appointed school personnel will go through a training program by the state's Department of Homeland Security, specifically to deal with active shooter scenarios. Training by the department will be up and running within a month. So should be up and running means in November because this is dated October 13th. Ensuring new policies involving functional shooter scenarios will be implemented sooner rather than later. Wow, the Daily Home reports that schools in Alabama currently have 2 lockdown drills every year and exercises for weather and fire. Some districts are also managing school by school safety assessments to identify areas of security weakness and ways to improve security in those areas. Schools are performing practical steps to increase school security, including minimizing access points into schools and locking both external and internal doors at all times. They have a video on this site. This video explains why schools need active shooter plans. Okay, police officers coming to schools. Some schools in Alabama are also bringing in police officers as second school resource officers. These police officers spend a significant portion of their workdays walking school hallways, talking to students and staff, and monitoring the surrounding community. These officers also bridge the gaps between the local police department, school staff, and others in the community that can take an active role in improving the safety of the schools within that district. So I guess they're coming up with something. They have something going on, But one of the first things it said was trying to stay within the rights of people's gun ownership. I don't understand that. This is a really long article. I'm trying to find that part again, but I mean, it's kind of like it's disappointing to see them talking about people's, because just think about, you honestly, you're not supposed to have a gun within so many feet of a school. So when you have a situation like that, some of those parents may show up with weapons.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So then you got a whole nother scenario going on, and now you're talking about people's gun rights. And I think if something's going on like that in school, I don't think anybody's really going to have a big issue with gun rights at the time. But it was just mind-boggling to me that that is one of the first things that they said that made any type of improvement or changes controversial or hard. Well, if it's an active shooter, people probably won't complain about parents having, but you just still just can't have any and everybody having a gun.
Especially going
Because you
to
know how
the
people are. People don't get along. And it's supposed to be going up there to help with that shooting situation. I don't know.
well, Veronica, especially with this idea of open carry
Mm-hmm.
and people having the right to have a weapon, and let's just say an officer denying people to access to the scene. I mean, at what point is the officer got to protect himself and that person? I mean, to what extreme? Especially if you got a person that's armed.
Right.
And you got a dad saying that's my child up there, and I'm going regardless of what you say. You're gonna have people that's
And then there was a whole bunch of other situations.
hard headed. I'm gonna just say you got some people that just hard headed and just won't take no for an answer. Now you got an officer dealing with a whole different situation.
And you know what we forgot about? The fact that they were talking about arming certain teachers that you didn't have to be, you weren't required to, but that they're talking about this in their article, that the state lawmakers have proposed the addition of armed educators in schools. Then we get to talking about, okay, they're already teaching, and they're parents sometimes, they're nurses sometimes, they're social workers sometimes, they're friends sometimes, they're confidances sometimes. So now people will be having guns who are they went there to teach. So I guess that's still on the table of introducing armed educators in schools, either by allowing certain personnel to carry guns or training as reserve law officers. Those in favor of such a policy believe that the addition of armed personnel would deter would-be shooters and provide necessary security should an intruder come into the school. Despite support for such proposals, many Alabama educators and lawmakers have opposed such a move, voicing opinions that weapons possessions on school grounds should be limited to authorized law enforcement officials. Currently, state law specifically prohibits the carrying of weapons into schools by anyone other than police officers, and many want to keep that rule in place, despite additional concerns over school safety. Alabama State Superintendent of Education has urged lawmakers to move past this controversial proposal to other security steps that can be implemented without undue controversy. So maybe that's why we haven't heard it as much, because they're saying that the Alabama State Superintendent of Education, I guess, is urging against that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Wow.
the governor came up with the Patriot Act back here a couple years ago, requesting or giving authority to school officials to hire or allow teachers and janitors or whatever personnel to carry weapons. But all of that was kind of pushed in the background. I'm not sure exactly, and I guess that's what happened. The school superintendent
Mm-hmm.
disapproved it. He got away from it. These are just things we question, and as you see, we do our research. There are questions. There are some breakdowns of who's in charge. Who do we talk to about issues? What's allowed and what's not allowed? Things of that nature. Um, there again, under the circumstances, and Lord forbid that we don't have a active shooter in our we don't. I pray that we don't have another one. Period. But just in our area alone, I pray that we have a plan, and I'm saying from the rural schools areas to your city and county major school systems. Mobile, I think Mobile was one of the areas that were called this year, called today. Lauderdale County. It was approximately, I think, 6 or 7 different school systems that were called. That called, that had this hoax. I think Anniston, Alabama had one. So it was several different major school systems that had this same call where law enforcement officials were called out um, for an active shooter. Now, what this should do is this a test? Is this a test from a source of individuals that planning and plotting to do something? That need to be considered. Is it the same person? Was it the same person? Was it different voices? All of that need to be taken into consideration. But once again, parents, please, 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 I would highly urge not to go to the scenario of to not go directly to the scene and follow the instructions of the police officers or deputies or whoever that is at the schools or even at the barricade before you get to the school. Please follow their directions. Um, I'm certain, and it was proven today, that our law enforcement officials, officers, first responders, all will be doing all they necessarily can to protect our children and our grandchildren here in our school systems. We just need to have a plan to get better communication to the people to make sure there's not a hysterical moment, calls or scene calls. Is there a way to do it? No, it probably won't be. But we can attempt to have something in place. I've been at the hospital before when Ray or somebody might have got shot on the street, and they take him to the hospital, and the hospital had to shut down because people are coming, family members are coming, people are coming to just see, is it true that Ray got shot, and is he still living, or what's the scenario? And then you got you know policy and procedure in place for that. So please, by all means, follow the instructions of the law enforcement personnel, and and do not report directly to the scene of a school during a particular incident of that. Especially don't arrive with a weapon. Please don't do that. That would be my thing. Kyle Porter, let's see. Kyle Porter said that will certainly intensify the situation even more negatively because people get paranoid, quickly losing train of thought. Easily increased adrenaline levels, increasing the elevated levels of anxiety, frustration, and unawareness. Parents don't need to show up armed. Exactly. Well, y'all, I'm satisfied that we had this discussion. Um, you see, city personnel or government officials. I mean, these are questions you can ask them. What's in place for as rules and regulations at storm shelters, and what's in place for as a active shooter policy for parents, for the community. Because, like I said, people could, your kids texting and saying and calling, "Hey, I'm scared. Come and get me." They say it's shooting at the other school. Well, that's what we have to do. We have to make people think a little bit more outside the box, keeping us informed and communicating with us now. Thank you, Val. We appreciate it. we certainly get any more information, we will pass it along. Um, there is still a toy drive. Mike, we'll go over this before we go off. The young leaders of Tuscaloosa still accepting donations as well as toys. They're gonna distribute toys on December 23rd, next Friday.
Next Friday.
Next Friday, in certain areas of our community. And if you would like to make a monetary donation, you can cash app them at money sign one. I mean YCL Tuscaloosa, YCL Tuscaloosa. That's Young City
City
Leaders
leaders.
of Tuscaloosa. This is a young group of young future leaders of Tuscaloosa that's doing a toy drive for our children here in Tuscaloosa. So we want to thank them for what they're doing. There are others, of course, you got Toys for Tots doing toy drive. Uh, can't never help
There's
it.
churches out there that's got some toy drives going on also. So we understand that, there's a lot of giving going on and we appreciate it all. Um, but their objective is to make sure that everybody gets something. And they actually plan on going to a lot of the housing authority places. They starting off in JC Fairgrounds, then they're gonna hit like Rosedale and um, McKinney Court, Hayes Court. Um, then I want to say Brascom, and then they're going down to going over to North Fork to Valley Hills and uh, West Circle and North Circle and Northgate Circle. So they're trying to make sure that every person who's deserving needs one. So if y'all know somebody that probably need help with some toys or something like that, y'all can hit them up also and let them know the names so they can make sure they get them a toy.
Please, Mike. You know, I worked over at the Power Gym, played Santa Claus for several years, and it was good to see, the distributing of the bikes and toys to the kids that actually needed them.
Mm-hmm.
And then there were certain circumstances where a kid that didn't need them got them, and the kid that needed didn't get one. So if there's a severe case of anyone knowing of people that need, in their need, please, please, please contact these young men and women. Make sure they get a toy to the people that really, really need them to brighten some family days, some kids' life, make a difference. I used to see kids, and the parent working at a good job. Not saying that they can't, afford that particular, a child a better toy, but the child that's shy, the parent that was shy or got there late, didn't come forward or didn't get a chance to come forward. If we can please identify as many homes that really, 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 really in need of these toys, will be more greatly appreciated. You know, I know it's a strain on everybody's life right now, as far as with the increase of food and gas and all other bills going up. I know it's an increase and everything is at an all times high. But please, let's try to make sure we can let our children that really need toys or families that really need these toys to get an opportunity to get them. So, in other words, if you able to buy a PlayStation 5 or above, for your child and you're in line for Toy for Tots, I don't think that's fair. That's just me now. When there's a child that really in desperate need, or parents that are in desperate need that couldn't afford to buy a PlayStation 5, but was on the list for Toys for Tot and didn't get everything they wanted or gets anything, you know. But that's just me.
Mm.
That's just me.
I agree, Daryl. Yeah. There's some other things they're talking right now about the possibilities of the severe storms tomorrow between 4 p.m. and 11 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
They just announced that beds are almost full in Texas, and there was like one or two other places with that triple pandemic. So please, 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 I know people have gotten, everybody's kind of like things were better, and so everybody was wanting to travel and see family they hadn't seen over a lot of the holidays for the past couple of years. But there's a spike. There's a young man on right now, and they're talking about the triple threat illness spike. So be safe, be safe, be safe. I have an announcement that Carrie Ash posted in the community group on Facebook about a Christmas luncheon, and this is for seniors. So let's
Okay.
remember the seniors during the holidays as well. Nursing homes, they love those bags with socks and just, I wouldn't say candy because you don't know who can't eat candy, but maybe fruit and just take a big thing of fruit for the patients, maybe even for the workers as well. The ambulance services do good about taking things in for the nurses, but take something about the ambulance services as well. They are public service workers too, and they have a hard job. But as far as Carrie's announcement that there's going to be a Christmas luncheon for seniors on December 21st, 2022 at the Benjamin Barnes YMCA at 11 a.m. There isn't anything about any cost. I don't think that there will be one. This is being sponsored by Councilman Matthew Wilson, Friends of the District, Ted and Lee. I don't know if she pronounces her name Leah or Lee, but Ted and Lee and Sexton and Spades Restaurant.
Okay. Well, great.
So yes, they're having that for seniors.
Great deal. Great deal.
So yeah. And my thoughts and prayers out to Coach Leach, Coach Mike Leach from the Mississippi State Bulldogs, to his wife. This is we all love football, especially in the South. This is somebody from the SEC. Um, a lot of times things are bigger than football, and I was truly hoping that when they said he was in the hospital, that things would be okay. I knew that they said he was in critical condition. Um, so he passed away last night, and he was an organ donor. His family, let everybody know that he did. He had an act of kindness. He wasn't an organ donor. Coach Saban put out a statement about Coach Leach today. I think he felt like everybody else. It was just something special and kind of quirky and fun and like a little wow factor with Coach Leach. I remember him folding up them chairs like, y'all ain't sitting down out here before it's on the football field. So, condolences to like I said, his wife, his family, friends, the Mississippi State Bulldogs football team, and Mississippi State University. As
Well,
he did pass away.
I thought I had a flyer. Patricia Sunshine Williams. Every year she does the hat, socks, and gloves
Mm-hmm.
donations. I think you sent it to me, Veronica. I'm not
I
sure.
think I may. You know what? I'm not sure if I said. I do remember saying I was going to send it because she sent it to me, and I don't know. I'll send it again. If I did, I'll send it again. If I didn't, I'll go ahead and send it.
Okay. And on Thursday, hopefully on Thursday, we'll get a chance to talk with Reverend Hawkins about a upcoming gospel um, program that's going to take place January, but it's for a cause, for a worthy cause. From my understanding, and let me read the flyer. Let me see where it is. Do I have? Okay, here. Miracle for Miracle benefit program. This is going to take place on January 28, 2023. Location is going to be at First African Baptist Church at 3 p.m. and the door is going to open at 2 p.m. I'm not sure if that's going to be big enough for what they're trying to do, but tickets are $25 and they're available at Rollins Mortuary, Fashion Design, Sewing, and Alterations. And it's featuring renowned gospel artist, Dottie Peoples. This is, um, Also, you got Dry Creek Baptist Church Choir. You got the University of Alabama African American Choir. First African Baptist Praise Dancers. Reverend Lonnie Weaver and Genesis. New Life Baptist Praise Team. Addicted to God uh, Choir. I guess, well, no, that's Addicted to God Gospel Group. And proceeds to benefit Cara Martin and family. Cara Martin and family. Tickets only $25. And renowned gospel artist Dottie Peoples is supposed to be there. And this is a benefit program. And I'll see can I get Reverend um, Hawkins to come on the program with us before this event take place. And I'm certain it's probably already sold out. I'm not sure. But those make wonderful tickets. Wonderful tickets. If anyone wanted to give out tickets for a Christmas gift. Let's see. Val said 2022 Community Christmas Dinner is Saturday, December 17th at First Community Church, 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Drive up, walk up, etc. Everyone is welcome. That's right. First Community and I won't say St. Paul are giving away. I'm not sure it's just a combined effort, but it's First Community in St. Paul. I want to say is doing this community. Okay, yeah, she said 400 plates will be served, and I know Pastor Gordon is doing it this Saturday between the hours of 12 to 2 p.m. And I think they're mostly going to try to do drive ups rather than sit down dinners. I think they're going to either do the drive up or you can walk up and get one too. That's this Saturday from 12 to 2. And actually, I was supposed to be at that particular one. I don't know how I forgot. And I will be there assisting with the one at First Community on 18th Street. That's where Reverend Darrell Gordon is the pastor over at that. And at St. Paul's, I'm not sure, is St. Paul where Reverend Ferguson used to be pastor, or is that the one Lonnie Weaver is at now? I get them mixed up. One of them St. John and one of them St. Paul. St. Paul is that on 10th Avenue? Help me out.
I think it's St. Paul. I think so.
Okay. But anyway, St. Paul Baptist is an association with what's going on at First Community. And I think it's all going to be did 400 meals right there being served on 18th Street, down the street from the YMCA. And Val thinks she said, no, that's the one where Reverend Weaver is, which is St. Paul is up on Stillman campus on 15th Street.
Okay.
Well, we appreciate them doing that, and that'll be taking place between 12 and 2. And we'll make that announcement again this coming Thursday. We'll have a short program this coming Thursday. Any more outputs or inputs relating to what happened today or any other conversation y'all like to talk about coming up in the near future. Val has a program that comes on the radio. We're going to talk with Val about her program that she offers dealing with the rural area of Utah and other small counties. And, I guess the question is, what's in place? Remember, the tornado just hit the city of Utah apartment complex. Was there anything in place?
Mac 10 apartment got the roof ripped off of it down there.
So, okay. So, if there's anything we need to do, Mike, let us know. I hadn't heard. I don't know who all the victims are, but yes. What's in place? Is they do Red Cross respond? Did Red Cross respond, or do we rely mainly on the good Samaritans of that particular city and county? Just like Hill County when the tornado came through. Is it Good Samaritans of the community, or major organizations that go help? But we'll talk. We'll talk. I appreciate everybody, and it's after 10. 10 after 10, matter of fact, 11 after 10. Appreciate y'all all that tuned in, and hopefully we learned something or get something in place for our upcoming future scenarios here, if there ever is one in place or need to be put in place. Mike, y'all have a good night, and we'll talk on Thursday, and we'll wish everybody Merry Christmas.
Y'all have a good night. Please be safe. Be safe tomorrow. Watch the weather. Please, I hope y'all got your weather radios.
There you go. All right,
All
y'all.
right, everybody, be safe.
All right. Thank y'all. Good night.
Talk to y'all later. Bye.